When you walk outside and you walk in the burnt areas, and look at the ground, you can see just animal bones everywhere.
We're only one more lightning strike away from losing where we're sitting.
Forever to be known as the summer from hell.
Finding them starving every day.
Australia, 2019 and 2020. Lives lost, homes destroyed, wilderness and farmland obliterated. Billions of animals, bird life and insects caught in the infernos. But in the aftermath, one iconic Australian animal has become the symbol of this terrible summer. The koala.
Koalas, they're like the elder statesmen amongst animals. Beautifully unique Aussie things.
After the firefighters left, the rescuers arrived on Kangaroo Island.
A lot of hard work, a lot of pressure, and they haven't missed a beat.
The Snowy Mountains.
I'm doing this because it's a life, like human life.
The Blue Mountains.
It is truly a devastating situation that we're in right now.
And Adelaide.
Box of love for a koala.
This is the story of the people who gave their all to help native animals. And for koalas to ensure the very survival of the species.
It is a lot to have to do, but certainly worth it.
The small island off Australia's southern coast is famous for its tourism mix of food, wine, wildlife and spectacular scenery. 4 days before Christmas, 2019, Kangaroo Island fires exploded on multiple fronts.
The fire roared out of the Flinders Chase National Park. The blaze was so fast and ferocious it destroyed everything in its path. This park is caring for burnt koalas. There are countless just like them still on the fire ground.
Definitely the worst day I've seen on the island, that's for sure.
Half the island was ravaged by fire. It's estimated 35,000 koalas perished. For context, there's only 300,000 koalas nationwide. The public response was immediate and massive.
Sitting in my home and feeling pretty upset by all of the bushfire crises happening around Australia, and then particularly Kangaroo Island really hit home.
Many Australians reached for their wallets to help out, but Jessica Jones needed to do something tangible.
We can't just sit at home. There has to be a way of making a difference here for the wildlife. What we first thought was just a little initiative grew into something so huge, and the donations started flowing in the next day.
Jess had requested medical supplies for the koalas. $1 million worth turned up.
It just feels so extensive now, doesn't it? But we're hardly any way in.
You know, a lot of goodwill coming together for a common cause and making just a huge, unbelievable impact.
Aha, there they are.
Ground zero and Jess's destination, the Kangaroo Island Wildlife Park. 14 pallets of precious medicine and equipment had been trucked ahead of them.
The blessing worked.
Run by Sam Mitchell, the park's been likened to a wartime refugee relief effort because from the fire front, the survivors are coming.
How good is that? And lovely enclosures. Just, you know, got all this up. Well done. Good work, guys. This is fantastic.
So the house has about 25 orphans. So they're the ones that get bottle fed every day. So there's generally a team of 3 in there that don't stop feeding.
Yeah.
When Sam and his wife Dana bought the wildlife park 7 years ago, they rebuilt it into a small family business. Now it's stretched beyond capacity with koala casualties.
This area here has 15 males. We're having a problem with too many males, and obviously they fight, so we whack together a larger area so they've pretty much got a tree each. We have all the temporary enclosures that were cable tied together as the roads were shut and the animals started rolling in because no one was prepared to house them. Seen now, I think, almost 400, and I was built for 20. We did lose a good number of those that were just too far gone. Yesterday, I think we had 60 new admissions and then they retreated about 130. Wow. So obviously we've got to re-bandage. You know, we're trying to reopen the wildlife park to keep funds coming because 700 animals and 12 staff.
Sam's a superhero. You know, he's put his business on hold, he's put his family on hold, he's given up his family home. Well, there's 8 of us. If you want girls to drag branches around, that's what we can do.
It's straight into action for Jess's team. Some only met this week. Now they're united for the koala cause.
You're scared, aren't you, darling?
We're raking out enclosures, we're doing visual checks on all of the koalas that are there. Give new browse, so browse is the fresh leaves that the koalas get each day, that's their food. Hello, kiddos. How's that? That's better. If there's any that need further veterinary attention, we bring that to the attention of the medical staff here.
Those medical staff have set up a field hospital right next door.
Yesterday we got 59 new animals dropped off and we treated 69 hospital cases that we have out the back. A lot of animals came through yesterday. A lot.
Among the mixed throng on duty is Army Reserve vet Captain Jess Hode.
It's significant. We are seeing 20 to 50 animals a day and they can be of various species. Most of them are koalas and they can't escape the flames like other species can.
Oh no, I know.
We love them so much. They all have different personalities.
Come on, mate.
Fighting is good.
Some are really sweet and quite tame for wild animals.
Got him.
Fighting is good.
And seem to know that we're helping them.
You're all right. Hang on. Don't close the doors on us.
Others drop bears. They're very, very feisty. But yeah, they have won our hearts.
You're okay.
Okay, these guys are coming over to you.
We do our best for them and it's something to be proud of. The people here on this island have been through so much. So what we're doing, it's great, but what they've been through, that's just, yeah.
In the remnants of the Kangaroo Island bush, there's an eerie, shell-shocked silence. But out here are animals who are hurting, scared and desperate.
I want to give everybody a quick briefing.
Yep. We, along with everybody else, were watching the bushfire crisis in Australia, and it was just getting worse and worse. We decided we had to do more, and we felt Kangaroo Island was probably the area where we could do the most good with a quick deployment.
We're trying to make sure that we're keeping our voices really low. When we walk through, we don't know who's going to be on the ground right away, so we kind of move slowly.
The Humane Society International, we're an animal welfare, but also a conservation charity. We're joined by our international disaster expert, Kelly Donathan. So she's our lead on the ground here. She's directing the efforts.
Try to stay somewhat tight because there's also like kangaroos and wallabies around and that are maybe mildly injured, but are doing okay. This is well known to be, a really amazing wildlife hotspot in Australia.
Habitat formed over hundreds of years, destroyed in just hours.
The situation was really dire. First day on the ground, it became very clear that search and rescue was needed immediately. One of my colleagues spotted a creature in the middle of the road, and so we decided make a quick run. So there are still animals that were, really in need of immediate help. He looked up at me, I could just see the skin was just melting off of him, and so we just scooped him up and we just rushed him straight to the wildlife clinic.
That one animal was just the start of a job too big to comprehend. There were countless casualties. The race now is to find those who somehow, incredibly, survived the hellfires before they die of wounds or starvation.
So when we go out on a search and rescue, you know, it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. We look for areas that we think there might be survivors. We scan through the area. For koalas, we're looking for, you know, little lumps down on the ground because that's what we're finding a lot is the koalas aren't getting up into the trees, they're too weak. We're looking for that. We're looking for any sort of movement, as well as anything that might be recently deceased because it's possible that there's still living joeys in some of the mother's pouches, even if they've passed away. So we are checking those as well. We're still finding some koalas that are good enough shape that they're staying high up in the trees. However, they're in these plantations that are mostly just burned out.
This team isn't equipped to climb and rescue. Get that wrong and the koalas may take fright and leap to their deaths. Rescuers know they will eventually climb down through lack of food.
So we're putting out water stations, keeping an eye on them. If it's possible for them to stay in the wild, that is our #1 priority. We try to support them as best as possible, but we keep an eye so that if anybody does start to get into trouble, we can intervene.
Even when the koalas are found, there's always a judgment call on what action to take.
So we're just keeping an eye on a koala that's across the clearing from us. We don't want to scare him and push him up the tree, so we're just kind of assessing the situation now to decide whether or not we go in after him at this point.
The decision is made not to stress the koala any further. He can make it on his own.
It's just the screen.
As the fires raged across Kangaroo Island, locals battled to save their homes.
No, you don't go into a room you can't get out of.
Incredibly, this house was saved. Many others weren't so lucky.
Yeah, well, we tried.
In the middle of this madness, 2 young Kangaroo Island men decided to take koala rescue into their own hands.
So we picked up one, shoved it on the ground. Then we found babies while we were running out. They climbed up the seats.
Caleb Hinves and Micah Lovegrove dashed out in their little sedan, trawling the fire zones and grabbing koalas. The video of their efforts went viral.
Just trying to collect as many live ones as we can.
I was stuck in the back with
Mr. Crumpy.
Yeah, Mr. Grumpy and all the babies just on the chair.
The one that was on the floor, actually, that one came up to me. It sort of looked like it was asking for help.
Normally they'll be up in the tree, but there's so many on the ground just curled up in balls because it's like they're depressed.
And I guess they're too exhausted as well, physically, to be able to climb trees.
Don't have the energy to do it. They used it all to get away from the fire.
The boys stumbled onto burnt-out farmland. What they saw was shocking.
This is where we shoved the mother.
And we had like 2 on the ground and then all the babies just on the seat rests and headrests and all that.
But still, they went on, desperately gathering every koala they saw.
We're going for a joyride, aren't we, buddy?
After the fires, recovery. Today, the boys are heading out with homemade PVC pipes, specially designed to feed hungry, thirsty animals. They'll deliver them to their uncle's farm, or at least what's left of it.
We came down here to look at our uncle's place that just burnt down. It was going to be his retirement home. The most sentimental item that was really in the house was the piano that was our great-grandmother's. It'd been in the family for like some 80 years. And everyone in the family had sat at it and played on it. Yeah. We did find the frame of it and we're going to mount it on a wall and maybe send screws from it and stuff to all the families. Yeah.
The boys weren't present when their uncle's house was hit by fire. They couldn't save the property. but they could save the wildlife.
And this is where we found our first koala. Held it up against the tree here.
He was probably the best condition.
I'll grab the towel.
I think he's lost a toe.
Grabbed him, put him in the car and took him up to our neighbours.
Do you want me to grab him?
We just pulled him off, put him in the car, and took him up.
The neighbour's house became the staging post as Caleb and Micah kept going out to find more and more injured animals.
One of the things that's really touched us since coming to the island is there are people here who have lost so much, and they're still trying to help the wildlife. Everywhere we've turned, we've seen some of the best in people coming out. People want to help, they want to help these animals.
When we first came down here, there was so much ash that as you would walk, it was like walking through clouds. It was so soft and it blew up everywhere.
This bush has changed forever. But these two heroes will always be known as the boys who risked their lives to save others. Elsewhere on Kangaroo Island, Kelly and her Humane Society team are back searching. And it's not just koalas they're finding.
Came across a kangaroo who I actually thought had just recently passed. So I was approaching her to see if she had a joey on her. As I came up and was just, about to check her, she actually stirred. All right, baby. Sorry, I didn't think she was alive. It's okay. Just stay out.
Constraining the animal is dangerous and distressing work, but there's no other way to assess its wounds and check her pouch for a joey.
Let her bite it. It's okay. She can have it. Just cover up her head. Okay. Okay. It's okay. She was truly suffering. You want to cover her face a bit more? I was just coming to check her pouch and she woke up. She's gonna die now. Sharp burns, her feet are falling off. Which was the best thing for her. She was in the process of dying. And her heart is beating like crazy. So if you look at her back feet, they're gonna slough off, like she'll lose all her feet. We're seeing them around, these guys. And it's hard to really tell how bad their injuries are while they're still pretty mobile. But when we find them in this state, we know it's because the burns have gotten so bad on their feet that the skin and tissue and everything's dying.
Thankfully, there was no joey depending on its mother.
Sadly, for an animal like this, we know what the outcome is going to be. But at least she doesn't have to lay there for another week and suffer. So, I don't think anything should be left out to suffer any sort of pain or hunger. It's just a really awful way for them to have to pass. It brings me peace to be able to give them that.
In the middle of the island, Jessica has been called out on a rescue mission. A local family is worried about their backyard tree dweller, known to them for years as Teddy.
Hello, buddy. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. He hasn't got me. Is this a regular of yours in your garden?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Is he? Right.
Yeah. He's been in here all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know, and
We'll look after him.
Who named him?
Mum.
Yeah.
Mum did it.
He'll be looked after and get some fresh feed, and then I'm sure he'll make his way back.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Teddy. All right, see you guys.
Teddy is rushed back to the wildlife park.
So his name's Teddy.
So he's a long-time resident of this lady's garden. He's not that happy.
She just calls him Teddy,
Just grabbed him. Boy.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Good luck, Teddy.
Do you want a Band-Aid? Band-Aid.
He's quickly assigned treatment.
So he just came in, so he's been heavily sedated, and we're just doing a full check of him. We've assessed his injuries. He's about a 4-year-old male. He's got severe burns to the forepaws. He's got moderate burns to the hinds. He's got a burnt muzzle as well, and you can see that he's singed. See how he's lost all his fluffy fur? Curled up and burnt. So we've given him subcutaneous fluids. I'm going to give him pain relief and antibiotics, bandaging his paws, applying special cream to promote healing, and we'll change them again tomorrow and debride the further skin that's dying then. Because they're so severe, we normally, we'll leave them up for up to 3 days, depending on how bad they are. But these ones we'll do again tomorrow because they're really bad.
This treatment process and timing is critical. Koalas' claws are absolutely vital to be able to find food and survive in the wild.
We get these animals come in that are severely burnt and their leather padding on their feet lifts off completely. And if they get burns on the top of their digits, they can end up with no claw. And if they haven't got claws, they've got no ability to climb. So you can't release them.
After treatment, Teddy and other patients are taken to their new enclosures at the back of the park. It will be months before Teddy can go back home. There's a different destination for orphaned koala joeys.
All these little guys have been saved. Most of them have lost their mums. But yeah, this is a room of hope, essentially.
Who is it? You want some?
I think there's about 28 koala joeys in this room now, which is Sam and Dana's front lounge room.
Youngsters of all species are welcome in the House of Hope.
All the animals that come to the park first get triaged by the vets who fill out the paperwork for every single animal. The little guy that just got brought in has no injuries, his hydration's okay.
This makeshift crèche for animals is an around-the-clock operation in the family home.
Some of the joeys require feeding every 4 hours. Some of them require feeding every 6 hours.
Dan, can you pass me a wipe?
Yeah. It's cute how the baby thinks the other baby's its mummy.
Because this baby is bigger than this little one.
Yeah, so we have to look after them, don't we? Mm-hmm. And Phoebe's going to give them some milk.
Yeah.
Because they're so little, they'll probably remain at the park. They won't really have learned the skills that they learn from their mothers in the wild to survive. When a mother's trying to still feed a joey and she's already dehydrated and they lose a lot of moisture through the burns, their chances of recovery are a lot lower. If they're trying to feed a joey, they'll just hinder their rehabilitation.
Wanna lick me? She's licking me.
It's really difficult to know the numbers of koalas that we've had in Australia. Some people estimate up to 300,000 koalas. Before the bushfires, koalas were vulnerable. Predictions are now that they will be endangered, meaning they are at the highest risk of extinction.
Back out in the forests, Kelly and Erica are determined extinction will not be a reality. The only hope is to save as many animals as possible.
So these guys luckily seem in much better condition than the kangaroo. It's just this area we're finding them starving every day. And so even though it looks like there's some stuff here, it's just not enough. So we're gonna take them in back to the wildlife park where they can get assessed by the vets. And as soon as they're feeling strong enough, they'll try to find suitable habitat to re-release them.
This is the Adelaide Hills. Once lush and green, now parched. And a small suburban school they call Paradise has become Koala Central. Locals have risen to an unprecedented challenge.
9.15, that's not too bad.
Donating the school hall, blankets, tree branches, and most importantly, their love and attention. When it became obvious more than 100 koalas from nearby forests had nowhere else to go.
It's pretty much just repetitive. They would have fresh leaves at least every 2 hours. You know, we've obviously got our vet nurse and vet board where we have all our medications that are marked at particular times. Everybody gets time in the trees, but these guys, it's their turn to have some climbing time. And then when their pen's clean, in a little while, they'll go back and someone else will come out. And the adults tend to go in the climbing trees by themselves. It's a constant cycle of fresh leaves, cleaning, fresh water, and obviously checking that they're all okay.
Vet nurse Emily is seeing burnt and drought-distressed animals come in daily. But she's also seeing a caring community send well-needed gifts they call a box of love.
Star, look what it says.
Koala. Oh. Can you read that? Of course you are. You're completely koalified. All right. Oh, look, you've got a blankie. Is that good? So thank you. Lucky girl. It's like Christmas. Hey? Christmas we didn't have. So she was found laying in the middle of the road. A little worse for wear, and yeah, today she's actually going home.
This little cutie will go back to the wild. But a new arrival has vet Deanna concerned.
So we'll just do a quick vet check, and then basically we then give them a sedation or a light anaesthetic to then get some bloods if we need to and check them all over and make sure there's no broken bones or anything.
Koalas don't present well as patients.
All right, we'll see if she can walk.
Like many wild animals, to show they are injured makes them vulnerable, so they fake being okay.
I'm just going to assess her because she's quite thin in the back end, as you can see. No. I'll go over there, darling. She's obviously been not eating for a little while.
You've got no muscle.
This young koala is showing signs of extreme malnutrition from the drought. Her fur hides a skinny body. There's every chance her internal organs are already slowly and painfully shutting down.
She's really cold. Do you want me to get some heat pads going?
Yeah, I don't know whether I should give her a chance or just
let her go. Can you feel the kidneys through her abdomen at all?
Probably.
No,
yeah. You should be able to feel that, should you? I think I should use. Yeah.
After blood tests and a thorough examination, the decision is made to euthanize their new arrival.
You know, they've been looked after marvellously by everybody. And, you know, they're doing so much better and so many have been released. If you see the chart up there, the release list, it's really positive.
Yeah, I think I get
Are you grumpy?
So, I have to check her records, but she's finally going home.
Let's go home, darling. When we received the call for Ruby, it was actually about her Joey. However, when I got there, her Joey was deceased. We've just been monitoring her, making sure that all her blood work is fine so that she can go home and she gets to go back to her family today, which is great news.
Koala heroes come in many guises. In southeast Queensland, they start with volunteers delivering sick and injured animals to the Currumbin Wildlife Hospital. Standing by to receive, vet nurse Renee.
Do you want me to transfer him?
I would transfer him.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, hiya.
Quite poorly looking. He shouldn't be laying flat like he is. And And his fur is really brown, which is also not a good sign for these guys.
There's no sadder sound in the world than a sick koala.
His cry didn't sound very good either.
Our old man, given the name Carl, will be triaged and treated. Out back in the emergency department, they're already working overtime. Currumbin is the busiest wildlife hospital in the world. Last year alone, they received 12,000 native animals, including 600 koalas. In the operating theatre, rescued female Lindy is getting a full once-over from head vet Dr. Michael Pine.
Sadly, this koala's really emaciated and this poor girl's been really struggling out there in the wild. I've been working here for 20 years and I've not seen the numbers of animals coming through our doors just dehydrated and starving. And these are native Australian animals. They're meant to deal with drought, they're meant to deal with hot weather. This was something beyond the normal. And let's hope that this was a 1 in 100 year event, because if this becomes the new normal, our wildlife's not going to recover, and that's going to be a true tragedy.
There's a terribly sad irony for the koalas that arrive here because of fires. Often it's their first time ever examined. Their burns are tended to, but more concerning in these parts is that too many cases have a life-threatening disease called chlamydia.
This is a koala named Bree. She's a female koala just from the local area, and unfortunately she has chlamydia. You can see her really nasty wet bottom down here, and that's where the chlamydia is causing a really bad cystitis. And this is an increasingly common infectious disease. And it's really sad because it not only affects the individual koalas, but as a population, it stops them from breeding. So it kind of has a double impact.
Bree's pouch is checked. There's no joey evident. An ultrasound confirms chlamydia has spread to her ovaries.
If we catch chlamydia early, then it is curable. 4 weeks of antibiotics, and the majority of cases will be cleared and then released back into the wild.
Every successful rehabilitation is cause for celebration. Getting ready for their release are Mum and Bub, Dixie and Darcy. Young Darcy has taken the term drop bear just a little too literally.
Darcy's a young kind of teenager in a way. He's just on Mum's back. He actually went for a bit of a tumble. He fell from the tree, injured himself quite badly, had some internal bleeding. And then a few days later, Mum Dixie came in to join him for his recovery. And, you know, he's done very well. All the bleeding's now settled down and we'll be able to release him shortly.
After a month in rehab, today is Dixie and Darcy's release day. Nurses Renee and Kate have the delicate job of moving them without alarming them.
Hopefully it's a smooth move.
I reckon you're just going to have to grab Mum.
Yep.
Dixie expresses her protests with some short, sharp yelps.
I think he's coming with. You're good, baby's fine.
But soon, Darcy joins her and she settles. Dixie and Darcy will be released by the volunteers from Wildcare Australia who first rescued them.
Hi.
Best practice is to return them to the exact tree that Darcy fell from. For a wildlife rescuer, this moment is the most satisfying of them all. Hopefully young Darcy learns to stop pretending he's a drop bear.
We're at a place called Numaralla. We're east of Cooma, which is in the Snowy Mountains, basically the high country of Australia.
While the Kangaroo Island fires eased for the summer, all over mainland Australia, new danger zones added to the crisis. When the Numaralla forest near Cooma erupted in flames, local wildlife expert Richard Swain was inundated with rescue teams from all over Australia and the world.
We had the rush to come here right now to help on the field, and we're the first one from Quebec that comes here.
Richard's home became base camp for responder teams from as far afield as Germany, Spain and Japan. Then he was joined by a team of French Canadians who had just scrambled onto a plane without even a schedule or a plan.
When we arrived here, we didn't have a clue where to go. We had one contact and now we're here. And we started at Melbourne.
They soon realised they were most needed at Cooma.
On the field, the animals are hungry, and we have to do something now.
Ouais, ben, j'ai 3 filles à droite, là.
For sure, we make the difference here at Cooma. It's pretty amazing what we can change on the field when we are there. All the girls here are volunteers.
For me, it's like my first trip. It was my first plane. Try to make a difference, and we all with Australia. We gonna do the best here, what we can. Yes.
With giant fires all around, time is of the essence. They must gather as many koalas as possible, as quickly as possible. Richard teaches them how to make a koala trap.
We're only one more lightning strike away from losing where we're sitting, or the mountain or Macanelli. If we lose those, we've really lost, nearly lost the lot. Yeah.
Everybody give money. It's a good thing, but me, I want to be here. I want to see everything. I want to do something with myself.
C'est en ligne comme ça, en chevauchant, toujours en ligne droite. Yes, sir.
An animal or a human is the same thing. He have emotion and he can be hurt. So I'm doing this because it's a life, like human life. So I'm doing this for that. Me and my team try to go up the tree. It's pretty heavy because it's not like cats and a raccoon. A koala, it's another thing. They can jump 3 meters from on another tree.
Moving these koalas doesn't just save this colony. These animals are disease-free and genetically strong. Scientists regard them as crucial for the survival of the entire species.
If we can save the most koalas possible, because right now it's a species that's going to be extinct. Other parts of Australia, I think they have disease, so they're not good for reproduction. But here they're good, so they're trying to bring them back.
This area is so vital for koalas that at the height of the bushfires, Canadian water bombers were brought in to protect the 3 wildlife parks Richard and best mate James Fitzgerald had set up. Sadly, one of these bombers became another tragic story of this summer.
This is the plane that went down, Coulson's aviation bomber 134. Witnesses say it was a fireball as it plummeted into dense bush near Peakview in the snowy Monero. There were 3 on board, an all-American flight crew.
Tragically, there appears to be no survivors.
I got messages that a plane had gone down trying to save James's place. I got there later that night. We avoided the accident site. the houses were gone and the koalas that were in the houses and 3 men helping have perished. He's lost the enclosures and his homes. And the rest, I guess, is history.
Through their tree climbing exercises and the traps, a number of koalas are rescued, including this infant who is rushed to nearby Cooma.
Is this the one you were waiting all night for? Oh, look, it's so bright, James. You're doing pretty well, buddy, aren't you? Look at those perfect little foot pads. I know you're a bit stressed, aren't you?
Maybe turn this around now.
Yeah, turn it around. Well done. What about Mummy?
Well, yeah, Mummy's still...
Hoo-Ha stands for Helping You Help Animals. We're based in Wellington. The reason we've come to Cooma is they needed veterinary presence in this area. We got a call at 7 o'clock this morning that there was a baby Pinky. Mummy was absolutely obliterated on the road, and Pinky was basically with the impact thrown out of the pouch. We're hoping she'll be okay, but it's kind of a long shot when they don't even have their eyes open at this stage, you know. Really, really is 50-50 when their eyes aren't open. Yeah, we'll pop her back in. So we came just over 2 weeks ago to Wandandian, so a bit north, and we were in a kangaroo sanctuary there for 2 weeks. And there was lots of burns, lots of wound dressings. So yeah, I think we had about 12 patients that we were dressing every second day. Everyone wants to help.
You'd be forgiven for thinking the plight of koalas was an Australia-only issue. But on the streets of New York, locals had other ideas.
Thanks a lot for this initiative because it really makes one stop and think.
A campaign to populate lampposts with plush koalas has spread around the world, encouraging people to donate to Australia's wildlife rescue service, WIRES. Lateral thinking is also saving animals on the south coast of New South Wales.
So the Westpac Little Ripper has been an aircraft that's been put into action on the beaches for the last 3 years with a zoom camera and deployment capability with marine rescue pods to ultimately keep people safe.
Ben Trellope has turned a geeky obsession with remote control vehicles into a clever wildlife rescue device.
So we're now transferring the technology and the learnings that we've got from this aircraft to take it from the beach to the bush.
It's as simple as it is ingenious. The drones spot injured animals, and that information informs animal rescue teams.
Koalas, we can see that they're high in the trees. We could walk through the bush right beside a burnt-out tree, and there's actually koalas sitting right beside it that everybody's missed.
Given Australia's large nocturnal and crepuscular wildlife, the drones are most effective working at night using infrared. Even spotting uninjured animals, in this case a small mob of kangaroos, helps inform the rescuers about the health of their habitat.
Leave the helicopters to fight the fires and bring the drones in to now save the wildlife.
North of Sydney at Port Macquarie Koala Hospital, a young animal has been brought in.
So this is a koala called Thrumster Kai.
Clinical Director Shane Flanagan is investigating internal bleeding.
He has been passing blood, so we want to have a look to see whether it's courtesy of a burn on his penis or whether there's something else going on. He's named after my son-in-law.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. In our area, we have some of the most genetically diverse koalas in the country, and therefore that made them of national significance, and that then rates this as a national tragedy. Our original estimate of 350 koalas dead in this region is probably incredibly conservative and more likely double. Not to mention all the other animals that have died as well. Holy dooly. Kangaroos, possums, echidnas, everything. It's just carnage. All I can think of is all those species in there that have just copped it.
One of the things that's been very heartening is we have a lot of volunteers here
and everybody has stepped up.
A pimply teenager. We're going to tag and chip this koala, which is an e-tag, what we call bling, and then she'll have a microchip inserted. And the males are e-tagged in the left ear, females in the right ear, because females are always right. Something everyone should know. So, all right.
You're good. You're okay.
The koalas around Port Macquarie were lucky. Their dedicated hospital gave them a fighting chance. Koalas in other regions have little or no chance without intervention.
It is truly a devastating situation that we're in right now.
Taronga Zoo decided to preemptively take healthy koalas out of the wild.
So what we have here is 2 of 12 koalas that came to Taronga as an emergency, basically, ahead of a fire front.
Nick DeVos is the zoo's head koala handler, working with a group called Science for Wildlife. They had been studying a healthy koala population that could be vital for the future of the species.
Science for Wildlife have been tracking them since 2014, so they knew about their whereabouts. There's quite a significant population of koalas up in the Canangra National Park.
Catching koalas high in trees is a specialised skill. The animals can spook easily and have been known to leap to their deaths. So these climbers use a method to get higher than the koala and force him down the trunk.
You know, the volunteers did such a great job. They were bringing koalas here to me up until 11 o'clock at night. So it was a mammoth effort. These animals are genetically distinct from the other population throughout New South Wales, but also they are clear of a venereal disease called chlamydia, one of only 2 populations in the state that are free of it. So it actually makes them quite valuable animals for the future of koalas.
In Port Macquarie, one lucky koala has been given the all clear by hospital staff. But his is an isolated story. Most of the hundreds of koalas rescued so far will be in rehab for months before their release. And that's if they have trees to go back to at all.
I guess the initial response to the crisis has been such a surge because it's visible. What we'll do is have a central storage facility on the mainland.
Yeah.
And so next time there's a crisis, it's
ready.
sorted. It's just that continued stay in tune with what's happening on the island and what's needed. See if they need anything in New South Wales or the other states. There's a lot of very special people on Kangaroo Island.
Should have like those respirators, those green ones somewhere.
It's so vital that we save the koala as a species. I think they're vital for creating awareness of how important habitat is. If we want to protect their habitat, then by default, we're protecting the habitat of everything that lives underneath them. Koalas do that.
I'm going to keep pushing for their cause for as long as it takes.
Fires on Kangaroo Island may be over for now, but there's no rest for those in the field hospital, still taking in new arrivals every day and continuing to treat hundreds of casualties.
Several days past a lot of the active fires, the big fires, so these animals haven't been able to eat or drink and are coming in dehydrated.
But you can see it's beautiful and pink, which means that whatever's happening under there is the right thing, and that's really brilliant. But seeing something like that in amongst all the rest of the things that we see, that's what keeps you going. Seeing something like that, that's wonderful.
It is too soon to know the full impact to species like koalas. What we do need now, individuals, organisations are better prepared so that we don't experience the same again.
Out of all of this, we now have new projects. So, you know, this is going to be years long.
The generosity we've seen from people has been nothing short of extraordinary. People have opened their hearts and their wallets. The problem is when the cameras go away, there's still going to be a desperate need. So I'm hoping people continue to support the wildlife carers because it's going to take a long time for this planet to recover after this.
What every one of these koala heroes knows is that this has been just one summer. We have many lifetimes of summers still to come.
The impact on our wildlife is going to be ongoing, and we're so thankful to have an excess to be able to send to where it's most needed. And of course, there's still a lot of supplies over on Kangaroo Island at Pandana with Sam. And the most rewarding news to see was Sam and Dana returning those koalas that are able to go back into the wild, which is what we set out to do in the first place.
Since we've seen the animals, we've still got about 200 of those guys left, and we've released just over 20 now. And that's including some of these little ones here. So the little orphans are bottle fed a few times a day. And then, of course, there's all the koalas that are still in critical care.
It's just come full circle, and it's been an experience I'll never forget. Thanks, everybody.